In 2004, Boeing ended the 757 without announcing a replacement. The cargo market spent 20 years flying increasingly older planes, paying more and more to keep them airborne. Now, in 2027, Boeing is going to do the same thing with the 767, in a market twice as large. Except, this time, a natural successor exists. Boeing itself said so publicly. The plane has a name, has the data, has the logic, but it doesn't exist as a freighter, yet. And there are concrete reasons to believe it may never exist. Meanwhile, FedEx and Amazon are running in opposite directions, fighting over the last available examples of a 30-year-old plane as if they know time is running out, because it is.
Aviate has reached 20,000 subscribers passionate about aviation. Our sincere thanks for your support. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.
To understand why this matters, you need to understand what the 767 actually does. It isn't the largest freighter in the sky. The 747 holds that title. It isn't the most modern. The 777F is newer, larger, more efficient. The 767 lives in the middle, a medium-wide body that carries around 52 metric tons of cargo, flies approximately 3,300 nautical miles, and costs a fraction of what the heavyweights cost to buy and operate. That middle position is exactly what made it the backbone of express cargo, not just in America, but worldwide. FedEx alone operates 147 of them, more than any logistics company in the world. When you place an express order in the United States, the odds are high that package flew on one of these planes, and that number is staggering. Amazon Air, which launched its own logistics network in 2016, went straight to the 767 without much deliberation. The math was obvious. Airlines like Delta and United were retiring passenger variants as they renewed their fleets, selling them for $15 to $25 million each. Amazon would buy them, convert them to freighters through a process called P2F, passenger to freighter, and operate a cargo network at a fraction of the cost of new aircraft. Today, Amazon operates dozens of this plane. UPS took a different path. Rather than buying used conversions, UPS placed orders for brand new factory-built 767s. There are 17 on order right now. 3 different strategies, 3 of the biggest names in global logistics, all revolving around the same plane. Now it gets interesting. Boeing announced it will close the 767 production line when the current backlog runs out. That happens in 2027. There are approximately 28 planes still to build. When the last one rolls out of Everett, the line stops. The official reason involves emissions regulations. The International Civil Aviation Organization, known as ICAO, is introducing new carbon and NOx standards for aircraft produced after 2028, and the engines don't comply. Boeing could continue producing under a congressional exemption that runs until 2033. They chose not to. Read that again. They chose not to. Which raises the obvious question, what comes next? The short answer is nobody knows for certain, and that uncertainty is already reshaping how the world's largest cargo operators plan their fleets, sometimes in ways that will put 2 giants on opposite ends of a very expensive bet.
Start with FedEx. FedEx's 767 fleet has an average age of 17 years. That sounds old. In commercial aviation, it's fairly young, especially for a freighter where planes routinely fly for 40 years or more. FedEx has been methodical, buying newer airframes, maintaining them aggressively, and now, as the line approaches its end, locking in the last available production slots. FedEx has 10 brand new 767Fs on order, with delivery scheduled for 2026 and 2027. They will be among the last aircraft of this type Boeing ever builds. FedEx is paying list price. It isn't cheap, but the logic is clear. Securing new, efficient planes at the end of a production run is better than depending on a used market that is about to become far more competitive. FedEx is playing the long game. Amazon is playing an entirely different game. It has never bought a new 767 from Boeing. Every plane in its fleet is a passenger conversion, bought cheap, converted at a modification center, and put to work. The acquisition cost is 3 to 5 times lower than a new aircraft. That strategy works very well right now. Amazon moves enormous volume, needs flexibility, and doesn't want capital tied up in expensive new planes. So you buy a used 767 for $40 million instead of $200 million for a new one, convert it for another $15 to $20 million, and you're flying for under $60 million per aircraft. But here's the problem. When the factory closes in 2027, freighter operators can no longer buy new 767s because there won't be any to buy, and the pool of passenger 767s being retired by airlines is finite. Every year, fewer good conversion candidates are available.
Amazon has already started hedging. In 2024, it added 6 converted A330s to its fleet, the first Airbus aircraft in Amazon Air's history. Wider than the 767, reasonable range, but it burns more fuel. It's heavier to operate. In short, it isn't the same thing. Amazon didn't choose the A330 because it's better. It chose it because the alternative is shrinking. And there lies the central tension. 2 companies that built their logistics networks around the same plane are now on diverging paths. FedEx locked in the last new production slots. Amazon is adapting in real time to a market shifting beneath its feet. One of these strategies will look like genius 10 years from now. The other won't. To understand why this situation exists, why the world's most advanced aerospace company is abandoning a profitable product without a real successor, we need to go back in time, almost exactly 20 years. October 2004, Boeing delivers the last 757 off the production line after 1,050 units. No replacement is announced, no follow-on program. The line simply closes. At the time, the industry shrugged. The 757 was a niche aircraft, a narrow body with long legs, exceptional performance at high-altitude airports, beloved by pilots and operators on specific routes, but never a mass-market success the way the 737 was. The reasoning was, the market will adjust. And it did, just not in the way Boeing expected. FedEx today operates 85 converted 757 freighters. The average age of those planes? At least 27 years. In 2024, FedEx retired 22 of them and recorded an accounting write-down of $157 million to do so. That is the cost of flying old planes well beyond what was planned. UPS operated 75 for decades. DHL flies 35 today. Worldwide through 2026, just over 200 of these aircraft still fly in passenger service, and that number is falling fast. The 737 MAX was nominally positioned as the 757 successor for passenger routes. But here's the problem. The MAX doesn't have the same range. It can't operate the same thin, long routes where the 757 excelled. On demanding city pairs, Bogota, La Paz, Quito, mountain airports with short runways at altitude, the plane was essentially irreplaceable. For cargo, there was never even a pretense of a successor. The result is a gap in the mid-size cargo market that has existed for more than 20 years. Operators filled that gap by flying increasingly aged airframes, converting every passenger 757 they could find, and paying rising maintenance costs to keep the planes airworthy. Now look at 2027 and the 767. Same pattern, scale larger. When this line closes, the gap won't just persist, it will grow. And the question the industry is quietly asking behind closed doors is, how did we get here again? The answer has a name. It's the 787.
The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is, by almost every technical measure, the logical successor to the 767 as a freighter. That isn't a controversial claim. Boeing itself said so publicly. In 2022, Boeing's VP of Sales said publicly that the 787 was a natural place to look when it came to succeeding the 767F. Former CEO Dave Calhoun, in an interview with FreightWaves, called a freighter version of the 787 highly prioritized on the list of future programs. The Kansas Modification Center, one of North America's leading P2F conversion facilities, went further, calling the 787-8 a direct replacement for the 767F in terms of payload and range. The numbers support it. The 787-8 would carry between 40 and 45 metric tons of cargo, comparable to the 767. It burns 20% less fuel. It has greater range. On paper, it is a better plane in every relevant category. So, where is it? Nowhere. To this day, no certified 787 freighter exists. No customer has placed a confirmed order for a 787F conversion program. No conversion has been approved by the FAA. And converting the 787 proves genuinely difficult in ways that converting earlier aircraft simply wasn't. Here's the detail. Its fuselage is made of carbon fiber composite material. Every previous freighter conversion was aluminum. Nobody has ever cut a large cargo door into a composite fuselage at scale. It requires entirely new techniques, more automation, advanced inspection methods. The estimated conversion cost is $30 to $35 million per aircraft, more than double what it costs to convert a 767 today. And there's another problem. The 787 is worth a great deal as a passenger aircraft. Airlines are paying top dollar for them. Boeing has an enormous backlog of deliveries still being processed. There is no financial incentive on the operator side or on Boeing's side to take a valuable passenger aircraft and convert it into a freighter when you can simply keep flying passengers. So the 787F exists as a concept publicly endorsed by Boeing executives, supported by third-party analysis, technically feasible, and essentially frozen because the economics haven't aligned. The certification work hasn't started, and Boeing has its hands full. Meanwhile, the last 767F is being built in Everett, and the clock is running. Here is the complete picture of where the air cargo market stands right now. At the top of the market, you have the heavyweights, the Boeing 777-8F and the Airbus A350F, extraordinary aircraft, enormous range, enormous payload, ultra efficient. They cost between $200 and $300 million each. They're the tools of FedEx's heaviest routes, Emirates Sky Cargo, Lufthansa Cargo. They aren't for every operator. At the bottom, you have narrow-body freighters, converted 737s, A320s, A321s, domestic legs, regional hops, last-mile feeder operations. In the middle is where the 767 and 757 lived, medium payload, medium range, the workhorse tier. And that tier is hollowing out.
Boeing's own projections show demand for nearly 2,900 new freighter aircraft over the next 20 years. Two-thirds of that demand is expected to be met by P2F conversions, but the stock for those conversions, the pool of available 767s and 757s, shrinks every year. The Airbus A330 is absorbing some of the slack. Amazon is buying, DHL has operated them for years. It isn't a bad plane, but it isn't cheaper to operate than the 767, and the pool of convertible A330s has its own expiration date. Boeing projected strong air cargo growth through 2040, driven largely by e-commerce. Shein and Temu together at their 2024 peak were expected to fill the equivalent of 90 jumbos leaving southern China every day. The demand is real, the infrastructure serving that demand is aging fast, and someone is going to pay the difference. Maybe they're right. Maybe 787F certification moves faster than expected. Maybe the A330 fills the gap. Maybe operators find ways to extend the 767's life by another decade. But here is what we know for certain. In 2004, Boeing ended the 757 without a replacement. The cargo market spent the next 2 decades flying increasingly older planes and paying rising costs to keep them airborne. 20 years later, the same company is ending the 767, this time in a market twice as large, in a world where e-commerce grows every year and where every package that arrives at your door depends on a plane that is ceasing to be built. The natural successor exists in theory. Boeing's own executives said so publicly. But theory doesn't carry packages. In 2027, the last 767 door will close in Everett. And for the second time in 20 years, the market will look for answers that Boeing still doesn't have.